Hello and welcome to Real Talk with Malcolm and Alex. Welcome back, Alex.
Thank you, boss.
Right on. And today we're going to talk about, we're going to actually do a little bit of second part to the first part, which was all about Ghana and Alex's experience in Ghana. Not that he's never gone there before. This is not the first time, but he's going to tell us all about that. So take it away, Alex, my man.
Yeah, it was an enlightening experience as always. Probably a little bit more than normal. Primarily because, well, uh, I mean, every time I've gone there, I've had a business in mind too, or in the back of my head, and always trying to get something going there to help create jobs and also help myself and my family over there and over here. And I've been fortunate enough to realize some opportunities there that are quite prosperous and kept me encouraged to keep trying over the years. Unfortunately, some of the opportunities that have come by have been due to like government changes or things that kind of delayed from being a monthly opportunity. Like it might come every few years type thing, which is usually like related to government funded or not government funded but government backed jobs or contracts and things like that. And those are usually the ones that I seek because it's more guaranteed. And usually, it requires capital, which I fortunate enough to be able to supply and get a return for, like, say, supplying the government offices and schools and hospitals, like with chairs and beds and desks, which we hire contractors, carpenters to build and put together. And once it's all said and done, for example, we supply it, then we get our pay type thing or predetermined pay based on the contract agreement before we started. Right. And to give you an idea, it's usually like 50%. Yeah, and to give you an idea, after all the work and everything's done and workers paid and everything, I get 50% return on my money, which is a hell of a deal.
That's outstanding.
Yeah. And that's like within a year. Can you just imagine that happening every month though?
Right? It's had to be ridiculous.
Yeah.
Holy.
Yeah. And so that's kind of one of the things I was trying to get going, but unfortunately it was at the time slower than what I cared for. So, or from what I want to achieve. And so I abandoned that, but I was kind of looking for things but that gave me hope in terms of what the potential is there, so to speak. And going there this time, I had been fortunate to be introduced to a wound care through RX Wound here in North America. So I went there with that in mind in terms of trying to gain some access to some doctors and physicians that can assist in terms of supplying the wound care to the general public. And through that effort, I was fortunate enough to run into introduced to one of the doctors by my older half brother, Sylvester, and this doctor, Michael Knight, happened to belong to this Amen Institute, which which is like it's a kind of a learning school and a church, and probably more of a learning school, and it's run by this Amen Reynolds, who basically my half brother, for example, has been going to this institute for 38 something years.
Oh wow.
And and he's now 60. Michael Bank's been going there since pretty much as an infant. And he's not a doctor but a registered nurse and does a lot of training at Kalabu at one of the hospitals there. And so in talking to him, he introduced this opportunity to me that the institute owns like 120 acres of land that they want developed, which is basically about the size of a subdivision of Calgary or Winnipeg for that matter.
Or Winnipeg, yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
that's a huge lot of land.
Yeah,
huge.
Yeah. Like say the Transcona area, for example. And so, so now working with developers or trying to bring developers to the table for a joint venture. So that's kind of like the thing that I've been working on. So it was an interesting trip, but didn't really get to see any of the beautiful beaches in Ghana. But but hopefully on the next trip might have some time to relax to do that.
There you go. There you go. Hey, you got to set that groundwork, right?
No, no,
Out,
exactly.
out of curiosity, how do you feel that because you've gone to Ghana before COVID and now
Hmm.
you've gone there after COVID, obviously, and you've done that more than a few times already, anyway. How
Hmm.
do you feel that that country has changed during that time? Like, has it been as dramatic as the change had been in North America, kind of thing?
No, to be honest with you, code was almost a non-event there. Like, yeah, and the numbers showed it too. Like, then surprisingly was extremely low there in comparison to North America.
Mm,
And so, they did have their lockdowns and some of all that, but and you see the odd immigrant wearing a face mask, but no one else really like
like that.
from the like the I'd say Asian, because there's Asians, there's whites, there's all kinds of cultures there right now. Um, but yeah, you would be hard pressed to see any of the locals wearing masks, and the markets are packed, the shops are packed with people. Um, it's yeah, it's I would say it's not even a thought really right there now, despite discussions of different variants and all that kind of thing. In North America, there isn't that kind of hype over there regarding COVID at all.
It's amazing.
Yeah,
See,
yeah.
all these first world countries shut down for how long and everything like that completely. And basically, I'm getting the vibe saying that, Ghana did not shut down. Like maybe
Yeah.
maybe only a few times or something like that. What in the probably beginning of the deal. Is that accurate, you think?
Well, again, I guess the conspiracy theorists would have it, you know, um, and I would say probably the bulk of Ghanaians don't travel outside of Ghana. There's a few handful,
Mm-hmm.
on a racial basis in comparison to people in North America. Yeah, there's people in North America that have never been out of North America either. But I
Yeah,
think there's more people
of
that
course.
travel than not, and hence why um, even myself, when they had the travel ban, if you didn't have a vaccine, that's when I chose to get the vaccine. Because
Correct.
I
So you
need to be,
could travel.
yeah, I need to be a free bird that way. I can't be, I need to have that option. Yeah, I mean,
Feel you.
in other words, I'd rather risk the chance of dying if that's what this vaccine would cause than not be able to travel.
Which makes sense. I mean, I traveled during that time as well. I got
Yeah.
multiple vaccines and knock on wood, didn't actually ever get really sick from COVID. Like I had a few stints of like being wicked sick, but apparently it wasn't COVID. It was just me being
Hmm.
very, very ill at the time, possibly
Hmm.
a flu,
Hmm.
not sure,
Hmm.
right?
Hmm.
So, no, I feel you. That's interesting though, because I mean, everybody's like, oh, the first world countries, they know everything that they're doing. They're doing all the lockdowns. And it seems like we had way more cases and people were way more frantic than, say, countries like Ghana. It's just like curious observation, you know what I mean?
No, very, very curious observation for sure. And I mean, upon a different level was the issues with vehicles in North America. I did not see such issues over there with vehicles. Like the car lots were overflowing. And I mean, I learned some of that was due to the um, semiconductor requirements in North America versus there, which again, I can't really see. I can't see car makers. No, actually, I shouldn't say that because they do make different brands for different territories. So it's not impossible to have to, because I can't see the car makers making a certain amount of cars or discluding certain things for certain areas, put it that way, for certain options. But
Yeah. It didn't need the semiconductors, so to speak, right? Like
yeah,
heated
yeah,
seats or cooled seats, for example.
yeah,
The little
yeah.
semiconductor was
Yeah,
missing,
yeah,
right?
which eventually North American market kind of, was just kind of said, what are we doing as well? And eventually just said, we'll keep pumping them out. Just you might get your heated seats after the fact, versus that
Exactly.
pickup type thing. Yeah.
Right. So that wasn't even an influence. So it maybe was the was the secondary market or the pre-owned market, was that impacted out there, or was it like, did
No,
they see the
no,
spikes? No way.
no, no, no.
I guess not, because they didn't have
And
the
I mean, I'm just
semiconductor issue, right?
basing it on the car lots there versus the car lots here that I saw.
Right.
Because here it was
Right.
like a
So it
ghost
was
town,
like,
and there was just the very opposite.
yeah, so it was like business as usual there. And
Yeah,
then
yeah.
over here, we were, oh, the sky is falling. Oh, yes, auto dealers are an essential program. And
Mm-hmm.
then stayed open, right? Oh, that's wild, dude. Nice. So when you're going back to Ghana, um, obviously you're trying to create like business and stuff, and then visit family and everything like that. The last time we were speaking, you were going to head to this town. Tell us about that experience in that town that you went down to.
Yeah, regarding the land or regarding the
Uh,
cocoa?
I think when we last left off, it was the cocoa place that you
Yeah,
were going to.
well, yeah, because of some of the things going on in the area where I was regarding business, I wasn't able to
Mhm.
make it to the area with the cocoa or the gold because it's quite a
Oh,
trip.
that's too bad.
Yeah, yeah. And so I tried to do as much of it by phone as I could. And so with the
Mhm.
Cocoa, for example, we went and sat down with the Cocoa board, or a member of the Cocoa board, regarding that opportunity to help them with the financing, which is kind of interesting because again, in North America, you hear there's a shortage of cocoa. And in reality, there's a ton of cocoa from what I'm hearing from all the cocoa people and the cocoa farmers and the people in the cocoa business. The problem is the
Mhm.
cocoa board, which controls all of the cocoa. Like there's some private
Mhm.
people and then there's some public people that like groups of companies when I say people
Mhm.
that work at the cocoa border and that manage like that buy from the farmers and process it and ship it out type thing. But it all goes to the government board, which is the cocoa board. Well, the heads of this cocoa board, from people I've talked to, there is they started funneling some of the monies or some of the profits into their own companies
Man,
trying to
of
kind of
course they did.
operate their own, yeah, and it failed, right? And so now the cocoa board is in debt huge, right? I think they call it the
That's
PBC,
ridiculous.
yeah,
Mhm.
over there. And these same executives are still running this company, which is kind of ludicrous. And also, any financing that they look for, they try to get a percentage of that financing for themselves. And so it's yeah, it's
That's
kind
so
of
greedy. Oh my
so
God.
so greedy, and yet it's kind of created this issue where they can't buy this to supply the market because then they need to be able to buy from the farmers to
Mhm.
before they could sell it essentially. Because yeah, to me it didn't make sense. Why didn't they just get money? But people that are buying aren't going to give them the money without getting the product type thing, and so they need to be able to get financing. And so that's where I was fortunate to meet Sahel, who lives in Dubai, but his family lives in Calgary, actually, his parents. And we had this discussion on the plane on the way down, just, in terms of what we both do type thing. And he was looking to finance a few governments in Africa as is through his company.
Oh,
So he
wow.
said if I had any opportunities in Canada, to let him know, which the Cocoa Board would
Mhm.
be a huge opportunity, for example. But
Okay.
again, it's kind of interesting to me in that way though, too, just having these opportunities and access because I do believe to be true wouldn't be that simple here.
Of course, because we have those established boards, like the wheat board, for example, and I maybe you should explain a little bit about a board, because to my understanding, what it is that they purchase it from the farmers and
Well,
then
well,
they
well,
put it out
from
to market, so to speak,
yeah,
right?
well,
They
in simple
find
terms, they're
buyers,
they're they're like regulators, they're
a
government
broker.
regulators. Yeah,
Okay.
and so so the wheat board will regulate the wheat market, you know, set help set the market price and all that kind of stuff.
Mhm.
Um,
And they kind of bring that product to market and then kind of you know, sell it on the open market, so to speak, right?
Yeah. Hold on.
Really? Yeah, no worries.
Yeah, I'm just trying to Google just to be clear, for example,
Mhm. Oh, for sure. I can
like
support
the
such a
function,
thing.
the function of a cocoa board. So for example, the
Yeah.
Ghana Cocoa Board is a fully state-owned company, solely responsible for Ghana's cocoa industry, controlling the purchase, marketing, and export of all cocoa beans produced in the country. And so I would imagine a wheat board, for example, would be a similar type of function.
100%. They're essentially a broker because
Essentially,
they can,
yeah,
yeah,
essentially, but because it's classified a resource, and that's the same with the diamonds, the same with the gold, for example. It's all run
right.
by central. The gold I think is run by a government body called PMCC. I forget what the acronym stands for, but it's PMCC over there. Yeah, and so same with the cocoa board. So still kind of hopeful that might be able to um, hear back from them or one of the heads regarding the opportunity there. And so that's something I got to follow up for this week.
It's almost like you just have to find them the market because at the end of the day, like I would assume things like wheat, like, okay, we promise you X amount. Here's a deposit kind of thing. Like I would assume that you know, nobody gets anything for nothing. You get the
No,
deposit
exactly.
first. People say, "Oh, it's good," and then you open up that tube. So it's kind of interesting this to hear that a cocoa board, who's essentially a broker, like they're not holding anything except for maybe wanting to pay the farmers. How can they go bankrupt? You know what I mean? Like it
Well,
doesn't make sense.
again, it's the epitome of greed, I guess, and and yeah, and I mean, here's where I don't quite fully understand, um, because these people are making monies as is. Like, when you go there, it looks like a luxury car dealership in their lot. Like you see all the Audis and Mercedes, it's like just
That's
the high, yeah, just all high end cars, and you could tell whoever's there is making money. I'll put it that way. And again, I don't know if all the companies that they funnel some of these monies to are suffering, but they're definitely not being made to give this money back, from what I understand either, which is all really weird. It's almost like they have this immunity that they're not accountable. Like it's just yeah,
Of course, like any other government anywhere, kind of like what we experience out here. But we're not going to mention that
yeah,
guy today. We're
yeah.
only going to talk about
Hmm,
Ghana.
hmm, hmm. But again, really, all that's doing is hurting these cocoa farmers that have been working tirelessly to produce and supply, and it's also to a degree hurting the end buyer,
Oh, absolutely.
right?
Because I mean, how how like Coco's has a best before date.
Yeah.
They, like how long could you keep cocoa in storage, right?
Hmm,
Before it's
hmm,
gone to market or it's gone bad. It needs to be processed,
hmm,
right?
hmm. But
Things
then
have to
too,
be done. So
what that does there too is it hurts the laborers, because then
they're not getting
as a
paid.
employer, you can't keep hiring people if if you're not selling.
Yeah. I mean,
Or if the product is in, not that it's low in demand, but it's just not being purchased at the volume that is normally purchased because of this controlling board.
it's just wow.
Yeah.
But you see the opportunity if you can fund them. Oh man, that would be amazing, right?
Yeah. And I mean, I guess it's and that probably comes with challenges too, in the sense that hopefully it's not going to the same hands that abused it in the first place.
Oh, absolutely. Because that has never happened ever before, right? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
They already misappropriated money Now we're gonna
Yeah.
try to help them get more, but hopefully,
Yeah. Well,
this
a
time
similar
they
thing
learn their
happened
lesson,
in
right?
North America some years ago. I think the recession of '08 or '09 when, the banks and the car dealerships were all, um, you know,
Bailed out.
yeah, and the government bailed them out only to give monies back to these same executives that put it in a shithole in the first place.
Yep. The only manufacturer I think, if I'm not mistaken, who has paid back their debt was Ford, I believe, out of the big three, because they all needed some level of buyout at that time.
Did Ford though? I can't recall if Ford did. I know Chrysler and GM did. I can't recall if Ford did.
I thought Ford did borrow money, but then they gave back.
Yeah,
But let's see, 2008
yeah.
bailouts, recipients, automaker recipients will in the U.S. Auto recipients in the U.S. Let's see what it says.
Yeah, I know it's all
Oh,
the
you know what?
domestic
I
man.
think you're right. Yeah, but I think you're right. I think I'm wrong. Oh
I
no,
know
it says
I know it's
yeah.
domestic manufacturers for sure. I know GM and Chrysler 100%. Ford, I'm not sure about, but
It says here, following dramatic drops in automobile sales throughout 2008, two of the big three. So you are correct, sir. It says
okay.
General Motors and Chrysler request
Yeah,
emergency
yeah,
loans in order
yeah,
to address in yeah,
yeah,
impending
yeah,
cash shortages, right?
yeah. Because the Ford F-150 was one of the top trucks sold in the world and still is. And so the Ford just, yeah, that was like their flagship that um has been holding them steady, I'd say. Um, yeah, it's actually pretty crazy how popular that truck is worldwide. Um,
Go
you
ahead. Did
know,
you see it a lot in Ghana?
oh
Like,
yeah,
is
oh yeah,
it prevalent like crazy?
yeah, like I mean, you see the Toyotas and the Tacomas and the Isuzu trucks, but you see Ford trucks quite, there's no GM trucks or the odd Dodge Ram truck too. I didn't see any GM trucks there.
Really? That's kind of
Yeah,
wild, then.
at all. Yeah, yeah, there was the odd Dodge though. And I mean, they do import them from North America, but there's no GM. I did not see one GM truck there at all.
That is wild. But
Yeah.
GM does sell stuff into that market, right?
Oh
It's
yeah,
probably
yeah, yeah.
SUVs and cars or whatever.
I mean, you see the odd Cadillac, um, yeah, and I think that's probably the only GM I've really seen there. I'm sure there's others there, but yeah, you do see the odd Cadillac there for sure.
It's impressive. Wow.
Yeah.
And then you mentioned, of course, Toyota, the Tacoma and Tundra. Like,
Hmm.
I would always expect that region to have heavy influence. But for whatever reason, I've always known that like Africa as a continent really embraces the Toyota product. I'm not really sure why. Maybe it's just all out durability and stuff like that with the harsh, climate and stuff like that. Do you feel that that's the reason why Toyota is so strong out there?
Well, let's be honest. It's the same reason why it's strong out here. It's a well-built car. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
Like,
that's true.
yeah, like people aren't completely stupid. Like they get, yeah, yeah, no, let's be honest. And that's hence why Chrysler and GM fell behind back then, is their sales tanked because they're putting out subpar product and plastic parts and, just lack of a better word, shit. And so it caught up with them, right?
Yeah,
Yeah, it caught up with them and since the bailout, they're wise enough to revamp their line and put up better product, and hence, surprise, sales rebounded. Right.
that's true. They also like GM also had to trim a lot of fat because I remember
Like,
back in '08 they had like how many companies underneath their umbrella from
yeah, no,
what
for
is it,
sure.
Pontiac was gone, and
Yeah,
I'm
yeah.
surprised that freaking Buick didn't go the
It's
way to the
well,
wayside, right?
Buick has some loyal followers, and I mean, here's where myself, I was a GM guy for the longest time from. Trans Ams to Corvettes to Escalade.
You drove a Trans
To
Am?
Oh
Oh
yeah, yeah,
man,
yeah, yeah.
I
Back
need
in
to
the
find
day,
a picture of that, brother.
I was a Knight Rider
The
fan.
I Rock or what?
No, no, Trans
Did you
Am.
rock that?
The
No, just
TA,
a
it was a
Trans.
black TA,
Didn't they?
just like Knight,
Oh,
with the fin and
oh,
everything.
no kidding. So you had the T top in there? Oh
No, it didn't have a
damn,
T top though.
man.
The Corvette had the target top, but not the Trans Am. No, not the Trans Am. No, it was a hard top.
It was a hard top.
Yeah,
You had kit, your own very kit.
yeah,
That is
that I did.
awesome. I didn't
Yeah.
see. I was this years old when I found out you had a knife. That's awesome. Was it black too, or what?
Oh yeah, yeah, it was black.
Sick, dude. Sick.
Yeah,
Oh man, I did not know that. That is awesome.
yeah, yeah. And and believe it or not, the last draw. I mean, yeah, I had a Hummer after the Cadillac, which actually I really enjoyed the Hummer. That was a fun car. So was the Corvette.
Which
So the Escalade was too, but the Escalade was
Humvee did you have?
I had the H3 Alpha, which
Oh,
is
oh,
like the V8. Actually I bought it out of British Columbia, and it was all decked out with the big 22 inch tires. It was actually really well bulk like hulked out. Like it was done up really nice.
shit, dude.
Yeah. Like if you ever see
That's
those Jeeps with the big tires, um,
yeah, of course, yeah.
it's kind of sort of looked like that, but it just and it drove like it just floated. Yeah, it was fun. It was a fun drive, and the sound system was next level. It was like wow. Yeah, once you're in there, it's like it was a driving experience, put it that way. And
Nice.
that's kind of the things I enjoy, like I love driving, but like certain vehicles, not so much so speed, but big and powerful. It's like wow, it just gets the
Yeah,
heart
you must
pumping.
have felt like a boss in that thing. Because that thing also sat high up. It wasn't quite as big as like the H1 or was it
No,
smaller than the H2 or was it the same size as the
yeah, yeah,
H2?
smaller than the H2, but in the exterior, but here's where the interior, like because actually I found the Hummer's kind of tight in the inside, like I had a BMW 320 recently, and I don't know if the cabin was any bigger, put it that way, and it definitely had more room in
For
the
real?
yeah, it had more room in the back. It's in the back seating for sure, like more leg room.
No way.
Yeah, because I
Really?
could fit comfortably in the back of the BMW,
Mm,
and I couldn't in the Hummer.
really?
Yeah,
That's surprising. See, I
yeah,
have never had the pleasure of driving an H3. I drove an H1 one time just to move it
yeah, yeah,
somewhere for a client, but other than that, and that thing is I don't know if I could have driven that like on a
yeah,
regular basis. I
yeah,
don't know how he did, and those things were bananas expensive back in the day.
yeah.
Bananas.
But see, here's where I swore off because my Escalade I bought brand new in 2005. Or leased it actually. And after 2 years, the fit and finish was falling apart, and I did not like. Yeah, I was even rusting through like the body, and a 2-year-old vehicle just shouldn't be doing that. And some of the fit and
No, for
finish, like
sure.
some of the interior, the seams were coming apart. And I mean they again improve the quality, but I kind of sworn off GM after that experience. Not to mention the
Who can blame
depreciation
you?
factor, not to mention
Yeah.
the depreciation because I paid about 95 grand for it, or leased it for 95,000. I had the option to buy it out after 4 years, and the buy would have been
Mhm.
35, but the black book value was like 26. After 4 years, the black book value was 26 on a $95,000 vehicle.
That's insane, man.
Yeah, like money just doesn't
Hey,
grow that fast, and that's where if a lot of people did the math, like the second, or at least I personally, but it's just a bad way. At the time I needed the write-offs, um, but when I think about it, it's just a bad way to spend money, period.
that's really, eh? Yeah,
Yeah.
that's fair. You're talking leasing or just
Period,
leasing
because yeah, I
certain
mean
vehicles
payments
only?
were, for example, like $14 a month, but
Yeah,
the
not
CRA
cheap.
only allows you up to, I think it was 880 in terms of
850,
claiming,
isn't it?
or
Oh,
eight
okay.
something. So yeah, eight something in terms of what you can claim monthly on a vehicle. And
Mhm.
so um and when you consider the value of it after a 4-year period in terms of, yeah, it's like Yeah,
It sounds like
money.
a rock because I mean that's like what that's one it was worth valued at one third of its original value, which is ridiculous. That's
Yeah.
crazy.
Like that's like 75 grand pissed away in 4 years, really. And I
Like
mean,
set
yeah, it
on
was
fire.
set on fire. Yeah, I mean, it was a driving experience. Like it was fun driving, but what is that drive worth? I don't know.
And you said that was after what you think 2, 3 years or something like that? It sunk that far?
Well, what's that?
You said it was like 2, 3 years was oh no, you said it fell apart in 2, 3 years. Never
In two
mind.
years, yeah,
Never
yeah,
mind.
yeah. Like in 2 years, like I was ready to throw the thing away. You know what I mean? Like,
It's awful.
yeah,
Oh, that's rough.
yeah.
That's a
Especially
rough
for a
experience.
car that a vehicle that's supposed to be a luxury vehicle, right? You expect it to be kept to like, and I'll use a
Luxury.
BMW for example. That was a 2014, and I sold to a customer I think about 6, 7 years ago. And
Mhm.
when you want to trade it in for a newer one with a convertible, I ended up buying from it at 66,000 K, and already it was more than 8 years old, but that thing looked brand new, and compared to this Escalade, and it was just tight. What I mean?
For
And so
regular use and everything. Probably drove like
yeah,
a dream
yeah,
still
yeah,
too.
yeah. And I don't mind
Yeah.
sharing the cost was 1/10 what the Escalade cost me, for example, brand new. And so um yeah, and so that's the way to, in my opinion, to spend and buy vehicles, spend money and buy vehicles in terms of savings, because it just doesn't make sense to me. I don't care how much money you're making.
Yeah. Let somebody else take the depreciation and get the quality pre-owned kind of thing.
Exactly.
Makes sense. I can flow with that, man. I love the used cars. Right
Yeah.
now I rock that S4 wagon. Oh, absolutely love it. That car is
Nice.
tight,
Yeah.
so can't go
Nice.
wrong.
Nice. Yeah. No, they are. Yeah, and that's what I mean. Like you and I think now you probably see more and more imports than ever on the, I think I can't go a day without seeing a Subaru, for example. Um, and they build type vehicles. Like I'm not a fan of the look of them, but they're tanks. Like, and you can see why people Subaru drivers stay in Subarus, for example. Toyota drivers stay in Toyotas. Same with Honda, for example.
Oh, yeah.
They have a
The
loyal following.
reliability, the look. Oh,
Yeah,
absolutely.
yeah,
And
yeah,
they're always gaining market, right?
yeah.
Except for like Honda's an interesting one though, because the Civic has always been strong. I had an Integra, I had an Accord, but like it's interesting that it seems like they're kind of falling behind when it comes to like the Japanese automakers. Like if you look at
Hmm.
Toyota, it's always been killing it, Toyota, Lexus, but Honda's
Oh,
not
yeah,
not in that spot anymore.
yeah, yeah. And I think they're trying to come back with the Accord, or make a, like, I'm starting to see more and more of them, and they made it more like a mid-sized luxury sedan now. Um,
Mhm.
and I mean they're killing with the Acura brand, which is again, kind of like Lexus and Toyota type thing. Acura's like the Honda and Acura tied together. But yeah, no, and the Sienna vans you don't really see as much out there as well, but I think they're still in the marketplace, considering so many Ford got out of the van business, and I think Chrysler almost did it one time, which again I can't see them doing it because that's like their flagship vehicle as far as
Oh
I'm
yeah,
concerned.
I remember they invented the market when they brought in the minivan, the Caravan. That
Hmm.
was the one, right? Grand
Hmm. Hmm.
Caravan, regular
Hmm.
Caravan.
And
Everybody
I think they
wanted one of
re
those, right?
and I think they recently tried to switch it up into the Pacifica, trying to make that the flagship, and looks sharp, but it's expensive as hell. And I don't think the market's ready to bear that kind of pricing,
No,
or at least their customer base.
because I know that, the Honda Odyssey, the Sienna, those are still coveted. And they don't even make many of those. You know what I mean?
No,
Like,
yeah.
especially Toyota, it seems like they hit the lot and they're gone because people
Hmm.
are all
Hmm.
about that damn
Oh
thing.
yeah. Yeah.
which is impressive. Yeah.
Yeah.
I remember back in
Yeah.
the day working for Toyota and selling uh Toyota Siennas. People love
Hmm.
them. The sport
Hmm.
one with the crazy rims, and Toyota
Hmm.
was trying to make that thing look cool. I mean,
Hmm. And
more
here's
power to them.
where in 95 when I was lucky enough to go to Africa for the first time since coming to Canada as a child. Um,
Mhm.
I that's one of the things I noticed right away because I've always been a car fan. And I remember a family friend picking me up in a Civic, and the thing was like a tank, and it needed to be on those roads, on some of the roads, like not, there's some good roads, but there's some rough roads there. And because I'm like here, some of the areas, like you'll get some areas with super nice homes, but the roads are the last thing they built. Whereas here they would build the roads first before building the homes.
Mhm.
And so, there's a lot of mud or dirt roads, but when it rains, the rain really creates these crevices in the road that becomes quite the obstacle driving on them.
Of
And
course.
so yeah, and so there's some areas you have some people filling it themselves to smooth it out, but uh, um, you need a solid vehicle there because also when I think about it, like some of the GMs and cars literally fall apart there. And even here they fall apart because I've
Probably.
had vehicles like
Yeah, of
literally
course.
after 3, 4 years of driving them, you start noticing squeaks and things that you just shouldn't
Yeah. Rattles,
or,
pops.
or that you wouldn't
Mhm.
notice on like say an import.
Mhm. Yeah, that is a great observation. I mean, I've seen it a lot here as well. It's the same thing, right?
Hmm.
Especially even, driving in areas like like Winnipeg or even like Quebec, where because there's so much construction and because there's so many potholes, cars like that just kind of rattle apart because they're just not built for that kind of shock,
Hmm. Hmm.
right?
Hmm. No,
And I,
exactly.
yeah, it's wild. And all the salt. I mean, oh my God, forget about it. In
Yeah,
Quebec, it's
yeah.
ridiculous. The salt on vehicles that are not built well, they turn orange on the bottom and then they start eroding from the bottom up. Like it's absolutely ridiculous. So you got to wonder sometimes what kind of metal are these manufacturers using? And then the other ones, do is it special all of a sudden? No, it's not. It's just more care, right?
Hmm.
Just a
Hmm.
better built product. It's
No, for
nuts.
sure. Yeah.
Mm.
Yeah, and that is the big difference. I remember there was a time when the dashboards on some of the domestics, it was like this foam thing that I was cracked, and I don't know if you've ever seen them. It was just uh, this cheap leather, whatever it is, whereas the domestics was like tight. It was like this hard, solid
Yeah.
leather or plastic, which didn't crack. And so it was just like night and day, just the dashboard, for example.
Right. Yeah.
Or not the or
See,
the center
console.
console, yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, I get you. I remember. Nice. So, what else can you tell us as like an end cap because we're coming close to our time here, my brother.
Yeah,
Ghana.
no, I mean, I kind of hope and pray that everyone has the opportunity to visit or travel at some point in time if they haven't, because seeing is believing, and don't always believe the hype
Yeah, yeah, I love that. I love those
or the
sentiments.
or the or the or the negative hype, I should say. Yes,
That's fair.
yeah,
Oh,
yeah,
that makes sense, brother.
yeah, because
Right on.
lions and elephants don't roam everywhere in Africa.
Hey,
Just saying.
there's lines like Kojo. There's mad
Yes,
lions
yes,
like that,
yes,
right?
yes,
Yeah.
yes, 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 absolutely.
Ready to take on the business world. Mad
Amen.
lion.
Amen. Yeah, amen. A lot of those
Right.
there. That there is guaranteed.
There you go. I love that. Fantastic, my brother. Well, this has been another great episode of Real Talk. Please like, subscribe, and follow and comment. If you have any questions or you want to come on the show, please let us know. Contact information is going to be in the bio. You guys have a blessed day. Love you all. Cheers.
Peace.
Later, brother.
See ya.
Cheers.